This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Dr. Smita Siddhanti. She's the founder and the president of Dyna, a consulting company. Thank you very much for coming to our show.
Thank you.
Appreciate
you for having me. Appreciate it.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about your consulting company. What's the overall missions and goals and objectives?
Dyna Inc. Right. That's my company. I am the founder. The overall objective of the firm is it started with the environmental policy. That's my background. So it started with environmental management, and now the mission overall is to protect public health and safety. That's a bigger mission, and for that we do various practice areas.
So who's your customer?
Government mainly.
So
US EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, is one of our big customers, and also FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Transportation, and they're all related to similar work.
If you have to tell our viewer what your company will be 5 years from now, what would you tell them?
As we see ourselves, because the whole environmental arena is also getting a lot of importance, especially with this new administration. Hopefully there'll be a lot more funding for the work we're doing. And also the importance of Homeland Security is increasing. The threat of preparedness and in terms of environmental disasters and disaster management is getting to be an arena that with the climate change and its impact. So we do see a lot more growth in
you
that
see the
arena.
brighter horizon?
We hope so. We do hope so.
Okay, wonderful. Tell us a little bit about your background. You have a PhD, obviously you're a doctor.
Yeah.
A little bit about your background and what made you to become what I consider an entrepreneur. That means getting out of the comfort zone and experimenting in a new environment and willing to take a risk. Why?
Good question. So I'm a biologist by training. So I came from India to do a PhD in neurophysiology.
So we have a shared history and heritage.
Exactly. We all came to study here. So I came to do a PhD in neurophysiology and then realized very quickly in a semester that that's not what I wanted to do. And in America, you could change your field.
Sure.
So I went from the real sciences to policy arena. Okay. And I did my master's in public science policy and then my PhD in public policy. So I have maintained that interest of joining science and policy. And then
It's a rare combination.
It is. At that time, it was more rare. Started my career with...
Where did you graduate from?
University of Pittsburgh, my PhD is. And
University of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Wonderful place.
And so it's a combined program with Carnegie Mellon and University of Pittsburgh called Technology and Public Policy. And that's where my PhD is
So after you got PhD, what did you do after that?
I worked in, my PhD thesis was in genetically engineered organisms in the environment. So that brought me to the environmental arena much more in environmental risk assessment, public health risk assessment. And so I took my first job in New York in environmental consulting. And since then, that's all I have done. So that, mainly hazardous waste management, radioactive waste management, public health exposures, exposure assessment. And that's, that combined my biology background with public health and the environmental effects. So that's been, and then my last job was with Booz Allen and Hamilton.
A consulting company here in DC.
In DC, and right there in Tyson. So I decided when I came to DC, and your question about entrepreneurship, I looked at all these other, was exposed to other Indian women. Kaveli Bajaj is one of those. Who
she happens to be my neighbor.
Yes, and that I was fascinated by the fact that they could start their companies, and I decided very early in the career that I'd do that, and told Booz Allen that I was going to do that, and they said, it's very tough out there. One day I decided this is it, and then I said, well, what the worst? I'll come back and look for a job with you, right? Well,
there's nothing. I did,
right?
And I grew my company, as you all know, for $350 million, and I sold it.
Wonderful.
I was only there for about 12 years. So I share with your passion, with your commitment, because both of us are linked by common goals.
Right.
And we have to be the best and the brightest of all. So from your conversation, as I understand, that you have in-depth knowledge and experience in environmental management. So what are the major issues that you have worked?
From the beginning, as I said, it's been more the hazardous waste and radioactive waste management has been my forte. And I got into it with all the Superfund sites, the hazardous waste sites, and assessing public health risk assessment. And that's been one of the big arenas that I've contributed and wrote several technical guidances and formulated systems to not only assess the risk, but also how to manage the entire risk assessment process in the national sites that are national priority list sites, they're called. And then how the technologies should be in terms of cleanup and how we should assess that.
This doesn't include the nuclear cleanup.
It does, actually it does.
Okay.
The whole radioactive waste management issues are with Department of Energy and all the national labs that are working to figure out the radioactive waste management, right? That's a huge problem. And how to clean up is a bigger problem.
Right.
So that I've been involved with all the national labs and working towards the issues of innovative technologies to whether sequestration or whatever we do in terms of making sure whether we keep the waste in the one place or we actually transport it and whatever we have to do to clean up. And radioactive waste, as you know, is a long-term. And then it's a long-term problem. And the radiation risk assessment has been one of the things I've been teaching as well. So that has been my work when in public health risk assessment related. So exposures and the pesticides have been another big arena where I've worked with pesticide office in EPA to figure out how the whole stewardship of pesticides, environmental stewardship and exposures, and how to reduce exposures and work with the private companies to ensure how public-private partnership can help that. So
wow.
The whole policy arena and the training arena has been very big.
Sounds pretty exciting. You excited?
I am very excited, very
good.
Committed to it. I love what I do.
Very good.
Yeah.
We'll shift the gears and talk a little bit about the TIE. You have been involved with that. Tell us a little bit, what is TIE, what does it do, and why you engage so much? Are you engaged at the national level or the DC level? Because I was a board member as well many years ago at the TIE.
Okay, so TIE, as you know, is the Indus Entrepreneurs.
Right.
That organization started with the first in DC as the Indian Council.
Well, it started with Reggie Agarwal for a long time ago.
Indian CEO Council, and now merged with the bigger TIE. TIE is now not just Indian, but also other CEOs have joined in from all walks of life. But so sometimes it's called the International, but it's the Indus.
It has grown a lot.
It has grown. The chapters are all over the world. It's a global.
It has become a lot more inclusive and open.
A lot more inclusive and open, and a lot of people have joined from all walks of life. So you just don't see Indian CEOs there.
Well, that's the reason I said it is more inclusive.
Right, it is. And so
So what is your role?
I'm on the board of the DC TIE chapter.
Okay, so you work with my friend.
Dolly.
Right now. Dolly O'Brien. She's now
She was the last year's president.
She was, and now who is now?
P.V. Bokasan.
Yeah, I do know him.
Is.
Yes.
And I am going actually. This year the TIE is doing the two mainstreams. They are not only encouraging entrepreneurs here, but also encouraging the young entrepreneurs at the high school level. And so that's called TYE, the Young Entrepreneurs. And the global conference of that this year is in DC. And then the emerging...
when is it?
It's in, I think, May of this year.
But you can look at... do that all part of the world, pretty much, or all part of the country, United States.
This one is called, this one is the global conference.
Okay,
TY is being everywhere.
Okay.
And then there's another effort that's encouraging emerging businesses, right? So I'm actually going to India next week, and the Global TIE is doing their competition of proposals from other young emerging people. And so that, I'm on the judging panel for that. So
wow.
February 1st, I'm in India.
You're pretty excited.
Anyway, I was going to India, so that made a good thing.
Well, you touched upon a little bit about the entrepreneurship, which is sort of your passion and commitment. Do you think that the entrepreneurship occurs because that's part of your DNA and gene, or because of circumstances? Is it a combination of both?
I don't think that it's in my, well, I don't know what DNA means, but none of my family is in business, if that's what you meant. But I think that bigger issue that I was always brought up with was creating jobs for rural India was a very big emphasis of my family, and my father had given his almost his
What part of
entire
the
life.
India you're from?
Well, I am from New Delhi. My
Oh, okay.
father is from UP,
Okay,
north
what-
of India.
what part of UP?
My mother is from south of India, so
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
real combination of national integration.
Well, they are bonded together.
Right. Well, in language, my mother couldn't speak each other's languages, so they spoke only English when they first met. But in reality, that whole aspect of creating jobs in rural India is extremely important. So there's the whole migration of people from cities to villages to cities, which is happening, is not going to be sustainable in the long run. So the whole idea of sustainability and idea of actually creating using local resources, creating local jobs has been my passion and exposure from the beginning.
Have you been very successful in doing so?
So last several years I've been involved very much so with women technology related work in Vidarbha, which is in Wardha. Wardha is near Nagpur in Maharashtra.
Okay.
And in India there. So we're working with about 5,000 village women in Wardha.
So how do they get the credit? Where do
So
they get the
this-
money?
It's
to start their
microfinance related
okay,
to some
okay.
extent.
Yeah.
And but to encourage them to actually start some entrepreneurial
To
businesses.
start something new or grow it bigger.
Right, but they need all the help, right? So not just giving them the funding through microfinance, but actually coming up with ideas, finding a place for them. So then, I go every 6 months now. I was going every year, but I am very engaged with a group that's very actively involved there, and such a pleasure to see all these women feeling the empowerment. So the last time I was there,
So
in
you're saying
August,
you're concentrating only for women and not for...
Right now, there's a big emphasis on women technology. That's the project that I'm involved with.
So you're looking at their engagement, their involvement, being entrepreneurs, starting a business and sort of venturing into the new horizon?
Yes, and so these women collectively have groups of women that they start.
Okay.
So
That's
there's
a wonderful thing to do.
It's awesome to see, and a lot of them were there. 300 of them when I was there last August, and they have become. A lot of them have become so confident that they are the panchayat leaders of the panchayat.
Oh, okay.
So it's
So this
really
is the gathering
rewarding.
for the village elders. That's the panchayat means to you?
Yeah, but the women were never in the leadership role.
Okay, but they are
but
now.
now that they are financially better off, they're also now feeling very good about themselves to be in the leadership
So they have gained the
roles.
confidence.
They have. It was very nice to see that, and I think that's
We
my
need
most rewarding.
them to participate.
Right.
It's very important. So let's just shift a little bit from the entrepreneurship and tie a little bit about NGO.
Right.
And you have been involved in the United States as well as I understand, in India. Tell us what NGO stands for, why you're engaged, and what does it do?
Well, so NGO is the nonprofit
Yeah.
part of the organizations, and it's an amazing force in India as well as here that is making the change, and they are doing things to make the change. So obviously we all know several NGOs here too.
Yes.
My own focus has been, as I said, the entrepreneurship is my passion besides environment. So that here the organization called IDRF, the India Development Relief Fund, and they have been helping the similar causes in India. So I have been helping them for their fundraising to work in this women technology group in Vidarbha. So anybody who wants to help or know more about it can contact me at Siddhanti at ndina.com and check out idrf.org.
And what
Here,
IDRF stands for?
India Development Relief Fund. I want to
Very
put a plug
nice.
for them because they send the money directly to India.
And that's a nonprofit organization?
It's a nonprofit.
Is it tax
NGO.
exempt for people like myself?
Right.
So IRS?
Right, absolutely. And in India, you can check out with the efforts that we're doing. The website's called gandhifootprints.org, and that tells you the philosophy and the work that's going on. It's
And-
Gandhi Footprints, one word, So anybody who wants to help in that entrepreneurship work, be very delighted to, and it was a pleasure to speak to you about all this.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you very much for coming to show.
Thank you.
I love your passion. I love your commitment.
I appreciate it.
And you believe in what I believe in, is an entrepreneurship, and that's the way I believe to advance the cause.
Exactly.
I hope the hope will live on, your cause will endure, and your dream shall never die.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Most welcome. That is our show. This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week. Thank you very much for watching.